Okay, so we've been hitting the math pretty hard, and we've been talking about trigonometry, and we did some right angle triangles that we worked on, some right triangles, and then we used we introduced law of sines and law of cosines, and we solved one triangle using law of cosines and then law of sines, and then we're going to do another one. So I'm just going to go bang, bang, bang. Just like that. And I'm going to connect those up. And we are going to call this, we're going to call that 10.7 centimeters. And then we're going to go over here. And that's going to be 8.4 centimeters. And then this last one we are going to say is 11.5 centimeters. Okay. And we're just going to call this one A, B, and C. Okay, well now how do we crack into this? Well, I said earlier that side, side, side is good for law of cosines. So we're going to use law of cosines to start off with again. Doing some more advanced examples. There's some easier examples in the homework. And we're going to write out the normal thing. C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine C. Now, we know what little a, little b, and little c is, so we want to solve for big C. We want to solve this equation for big C. Well, the first thing I got to do is I got to subtract off so I'm going to get C squared minus A squared minus B squared is equal to minus 2AB cosine C. And now I'm going to divide by negative 2AB. And so I'm going to get, I'm going to flip some signs around here. It's going to be a little bit confusing for some people, but I'm going to get A squared plus B squared minus C squared over 2AB is equal to cosine C. And then last but not least, I'm going to say C is equal to cosine inverse of A squared plus B squared minus C squared over 2AB. Now I'm going to plug in my numbers. So C is going to be cosine inverse of 8.4 squared plus 10.7 squared minus 11.5 squared over 2 times 8.4 times 10.7. Okay, so I sort of cramped that in there. My apologies. Once again, don't think of this as sort of a traditional traditional calculator. It's more of a typewriter. We can just blast it out all in one line. We can type it just like we got it. Okay, so instead of hitting cosine, I do second cosine. That gives me the cosine inverse. Now all that numerator, that's going to all need to be in a set of parentheses. So I'm going to start a brand new parentheses, and I'm going to go 8.4 squared plus 10.7 squared minus 11.5 squared, and that closes out my numerator, so I close the parentheses on my numerator, and I divide it by, let's open up a set of parentheses for the denominator, 2 times 8.4 times 10.7. So now all that's in my denominator. I close my denominator, I close my cosine inverse, and bam, 72.9 degrees. So I'm going to call it 73 degrees. And that one is going to be opposite there. So there's my big C, and it's going to be 73 degrees. Now, we need to find another angle. So let's find angle A. Doesn't really matter, but we'll find angle A. Okay, so I have sine C over little c is going to be equal to sine A over little a. And I want to use that to find angle A. And so I'm going to say A over C times sine C is equal to sine A. And so finally, A is going to be the sine inverse of A over C times sine C. So big A is going to be sine inverse of 8.4 over 11.5 times sine of, let's use the data that we had, 72.9 degrees. Okay. Now, how do I plug this into my calculator? Well, I don't know if we've used the answer key yet, but it's really, really important. What I'm going to do is on my new line, second sine, that gives me my sine inverse, and then I'm going to do 8.4 divided by 11.5, and I'm going to multiply that fraction by the sine of my answer of that 72.9 that's sitting right up there. So I'm going to go down to this button here. I'm going to go second answer, and that's going to pull down the 72.91890347 for me, so that I don't have to retype it and I don't have to worry about rounding issues. Close the next set of parentheses, hit it, I get 44.28 degrees, so I'm going to call it 44 degrees. Now, last but not least, it's really easy that big B is going to be 180 degrees minus 44 degrees minus 73 degrees. So big B is going to be 180 minus 44 minus 73. It's going to be 63 degrees. Okay. So I get out my protractor and I slap it on there, and I get that right there. There's 40, 44, I nailed that one. Slide that over here, hit it right there, and I got 72. I'm not quite to 73, and as you remember, I was 72.9. So I'm not quite to 72, right? Not quite to 73, so I pretty much nailed that one. And then we flip this around, and we get this, and we are at 63 and a bit. So that one was supposed to be, I don't know, whatever. I'm probably off by a little bit, but that was the last one I calculated. So I'm somewhere in the 63 range. And so I am happy that I have successfully used law of cosines and law of sines to solve that triangle. And that's that for this lecture.